Hello everyone, Legionnaires here, and today I have a Frostblade's Warden build for you. I'm gonna go first over a few things just for you to decide if the build is for you or not. What is it good at and what is it not good at? Let me move this maybe, or is it readable? I guess it's not readable anywhere, so I'll just read it out to you. You know what? I can open the passive tree, there we go. So it's great at all League content. It's a fast clear. So all League content, anything from Legion to Harvest, anything in between. There are some mechanics that are better with Explosion on kill. You know, like Blight is a lot better at that. Harvest is a lot better with that. So there are builds that are better than this build and doing that League content. But you know, it's great at all of them. Excels in maybe not any of them as much as some other specialized builds, but it's great at all of them. And it's very fast clear if you want to do boss rush. It's also good at Sanctums. It's not as good as like the what's the mine build that running, you know, that just deletes Lucia. But it still can do Sanctum if you just want to break up your gameplay every now and then do a bit of Sanctum. It can do Ubers, but it doesn't have any ways to deal with ground degen, so Cirrus and Uber Exarch are very, very difficult. I just ripped an Uber Cirrus, so I would recommend at least trying it out because you can definitely learn those fights on this build and do them deathless, but it's gonna take a lot of practice. Uber Eater, Uber Maven, Uber Shaper, anything where the degens are not guaranteed because you can just damage them down fast enough. This has the damage, you know, like 30 million DPS. There's definitely bigger builds in the game, you know, like Explosive Trap or something. So there are definitely builds that can do Ubers better, more reliably, but this build can do them if you just want to have that under your belt, that hey, I did Ubers, this build can do them, and still be an amazing S tier mapper. And also Delve, you can do Delve if you get a different cluster that's a lot more expensive that has blast freeze on it. I do not have blast freeze, therefore I'm not doing that. So that's that. And then the last thing, would not recommend Rogue Exiles. That's specific to this league with the Titanic Scarabs. Right now, these Scarabs have a bunch of extra toughness to unique monsters, which works with Rogue Exiles. However, Rogue Exiles includes Xandro the Blood Drinker, which is the bane of any evasion build. So, I would not do that. Let me do a Sanctuary for you. This is one that I rolled relatively easily. We'll see how it goes. I ripped 1 and did 3. So, actually I ripped 2 and did 3 or 4, maybe. I don't want to overshoot it. Nonetheless, tier 17s I don't have on the list of what it's good or bad at because it's too early to tell. I don't know how others are doing them as well. I don't know if people roll them super easy or if people roll them as rewarding as possible. So depending on where your standards are, you might think differently. The actual map itself is okay so long as it doesn't get too many monsters with insane projectiles. This one sucks because there's like you get stuck on the horns all the time. It's annoying as hell. But yeah, the one I ripped previously was one with Spark Mages, and I probably would have been able to do it if I respec to Acro, but whatever, you know, it's neither here nor there. Let bygones be bygones. We move on. But with spell suppression, it was not enough. Okay. So, let me see where's the boss. I hate one thing about tier 17s, and that's just the layouts. I mean, I guess everyone, I've seen similar opinions online as well, but like the layouts are just bad. I didn't play Necropolis, as I assume also a lot of people, so a lot of this is new to me, and yeah, I do not like these. Alright, there's the boss. So, gonna put down a portal because we might die a few times. I'm gonna wait for my charges to refill for my tinctures, and then we'll go in. It does have 141% extra life as energy shield, so that's gonna be fun. Whoa, okay, immediately got one shot by something I couldn't see. Not sure what that was. Genuinely not sure. Was it the things on the ground? But I don't know. Oh, where is she? What the fuck? Okay. Oh my god. Windows, please stop giving me shit. Okay. Once we actually get to deal damage, it's fine. It's just I keep getting Windows pop-ups. Why is she in there? What? I have never seen her spawn off to the side like that. Oh, please Windows, stop opening fucking weather. I don't want to see the weather right now. Oh. It's because I'm playing on the laptop. It's the trackpad thing. I should find a way to disable the trackpad while I'm gaming. So you just need to avoid the things, and I'm not the best at it, even though I played a lot of Sanctum. And then yeah, the actual boss fights, if they can be called that, are fine. It's just, yeah, sometimes you get bad RNG, but as you can see, the damage is there, and it's a similar story on Ubers. You know, like, we dime to mechanics, but once you know how to do the mechanics, you're fine. On tier 17s, if you want some tips, I will just say avoid increased AoE. It makes them undoable. Like the boss fight, it makes undoable. Obviously, all the stuff you always avoid, like ink, like additional projectiles and stuff, you always avoid, no matter what. But ink AoE is just a death sentence on these. And specific to this build, but also like all elemental builds, is you don't want to avoid elemental ailments, because obviously freeze is your only defense, and that will affect that a lot. Now you should fully complete the tier 17. I'm not going to do that because it takes forever, but there you go. That's a tier 17 with nothing really in it. It was just, you know, pretty tough 3 for them, because I do pick up the effect of modifiers on maps. But now I'm going to do a tier 16 with the scarabs, the titanic scarabs, just to show you what else I've been doing and what else the build can handle. Alright. Okay, so we are running. What did it roll? Scouring, okay, whatever. We are running this with the extra toughness, and oh yeah, it gets pretty tough, as you can see. I didn't freeze the one in the back, so it I think it was the one in the back that killed me anyway. Just gonna pick up some damage. As long as you keep moving, it's okay. Which I'm not doing right now, which I should be. Okay, there we go. So that's the other type of content I've been doing with this. Oh, Chaos stuff. It's for whatever reason super rare, but doesn't actually amount to much. Alright. And then I just run the rest of the map, looking for divine altars. I leave all of the altars up, because if you get the divine altar last, you'll be glad to have some left. It applies retroactively, so any monsters you spawn from the altars after you get the divine one will also drop divines, or have a chance to anyway. But that's just my strategy. You don't have to do that. You can just pick up the quantity and do that. I did that with harvest for a while, and obviously it gets pretty tough because the quantity, you get some pretty bad modifiers as well. But yeah, you should still live through most of it, and get some good harvest juice out of it. I was doing that to make my first like 10 divines. Then from there I did bestiary. Bestiary is also completely doable on this. The Black Morgans sell for a lot, so actually bestiary was like, I made like 30 diff or something from like a day and a half of running it. I did some incursion. What I'm doing now, I did get a Hinekora's Log from this, which is super lucky, so that's you shouldn't expect to get that, but I did get one, so I got lucky there. But you'll get lucky eventually with something, right? Probably won't be the same thing for you, but just keep playing the game. And oh, you should not do that. You should not click those before you've killed monsters. They eat up your time. Okay. As you can see, the tier 16s are a cakewalk compared to tier 17. The only thing was the bosses at the start, because they had the increased toughness and a bunch of monster modifiers and damage. But Oh, no, 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 no. Ooh, okay, hold on, hold on. I do want to get this guy. Where is he? Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Oh. What? Where is he? Oh, here. Okay. And then we can just pick these up. It's better if you also use the incursion scarabs that give you all monsters as magic in all of them, like always, 100% chance. You can reach that with 2 of the scarabs and the passive tree, and that's amazing for XP. That's how I leveled, with a slightly easier Atlas tree and focusing on Alva. I was still able to make some money while leveling, rather than, you know, just paying for a 5-way or something. Which you can do, there's nothing wrong with that, but not my preferred way of leveling. 5-ways I haven't done yet. I mean, actually no, I did do one, but didn't go like super well. It was okay. Yeah, I just tend not to repeat too much content, so right now I'm focused more on the tier 17s and, you know, stuff I haven't done in a while, like Incursion. I've done some Blight this league as well, got some money out of that. Not the most money, but some. So yeah, but it's amazing. Like, it's an amazing build. It really is. I've played it so many times. Whenever I league start something else and like things don't go well, I usually just stick out for long enough with my league starter build to get a heat shiver, and then I reroll into Frostblades. I've done that twice, I think, and it's always on the back of my mind. Like, no matter what I league start, if I can just make enough money for a heat shiver, I can just reroll into Frostblades. So yeah, it's just an amazing build. And last time I made a video about it in Sanctum, I was saying that it deserves a nerf. It did get a nerf. The yikes, that hurts. The heat shiver got nerfed, but everything else about it got buffed this league, apart from the hatred changes, I guess. So yeah, it's a good build. It's a good build. They're good builds, Brent. And there really isn't anything that I can think of where I wouldn't do. Whereas I also leveled the Gladiator, and I was just thinking, like, what am I gonna do with this? You know, I had a relatively tanky like setup with block and stuff, but like there was no content that it really excelled at, so I didn't enjoy that as much. I didn't enjoy it. I enjoy blaster builds that have the damage to deal with anything, because I would rather the enemies are dead faster than that I live longer. We're here for a good time, not a long time, right? So that's the build. I'm gonna just do like a middle of the ending here. So you saw everything that you're gonna see with this build, and you can take a look at the POB. I'm not gonna explain things further in much detail. I'm just gonna show you the gear and give you some options on what other gear you can use, especially if you want to level to be a bit more defensive. And how I leveled, I kind of went over it already, but I'll just show you specifically even the Atlas passive tree and everything, and stuff like that. But if you need some sort of explanation of how something works mechanically, or how to even start scaling the build, you might be better off checking out a different guide, as I do not really have all of the answers put together here, but I will show you a few things. So I'm gonna show you these 2 pieces of gear, mostly because these are the biggest changes compared to the Trickster version. In the Trickster version, we were running a chest like this with Fortify and Crit Multi, but we also were able to craft the fizz damage taken as fire, as elemental. Doesn't have to be fire, but any of the elements. Now we cannot craft that, so now we have to have that on an implicit if we want it. And on the other side, though, on the other hand, we also have new ways to scale the damage with gem levels. Gem levels matter to these skill gems now, melee skill gems. So you can see the attack damage is at 431%. I put it into the +3. It gets another level from somewhere. I don't really remember where. Where's it getting the extra level from? Oh, the Edit Cold, right. Awakened Edit Cold also gets +1. So with +4 levels, it gets 531. So that's 100% extra attack damage scaling, which works out to be about 18% more damage. Well, actually, just the +3 without the Awakened Added Cold is plus 18. The Awakened Added Cold does a bit more than that, of course. But that's why we now use a corrupted gem, corrupted body armor for +2 level. So I have a Warlord explicit modifier and I have a corrupted implicit modifier. That is the biggest DPS upgrade I could get at this point. Another point is I am using a Heat Shiver with a Reservation multiplier now. You don't need this until you get a Watcher's Eye with Hatred. So Hatred, Watcher's Eye, it's worth it. It's like 20% more damage. So that was worth enough for me to go back and work out, okay, how can I get Hatred back into the build? If you don't have this, then you don't need the Corruption on the Heat Shiver and you don't use Hatred, as the Hatred itself only gives Fizz as extra cold now, so you don't care about that with White Wind, obviously. What else? The belt, this doesn't necessarily, like, these two are not mutually exclusive, the mods on them are not mutually exclusive, but I just have two different ones crafted. You want Aspect of the Crab, and this is where we go into the leveling portion. So the Fizz damage reduction from the chest plus the Fizz damage reduction from aspect of the Crab bumps up your max Fizz hit taken quite a bit. Then you also, of course, are running cast with damage taken Steel Skin on life tap, so it's always available. And then you run this tree. So not all of the nodes are necessary, but you want to take all of the incursion nodes. So incursion, it's not the best money maker, but it is very good at doing two things at once. It gives you money, some of it, and it gives you XP. So you want to use this node, Time Dilation, and you want to use Scarabs that do the same thing. These are from one of the new Scarabs from last league. Scarab of Champions, Incursion Scarab of Champions. It does the same thing as Time Dilation, and it stacks up to 100% chance, so you can get all of the monsters inside an incursion to be magic. Then you can put in Delirium as well if you want. I wasn't running Delirium, but you can put in Delirium and Beyond. And actually, Beyond is better without the Keystone. The Keystone is kind of bait, but it's just more consistent with the Keystone. So without the Keystone, you actually get more Beyond modifier, Beyond monsters. Then you can put in Delirium as well, and everything that spawns inside the incursion, be it Delirium or Beyond monsters, will be magic at least. So that is a ton of XP. However, Beyond monsters and to some extent Delirium monsters as well, they do deal big Fizz hits. So that's why you need to care about the Fizz damage mitigation a bit more. In general mapping, there isn't really that many sources of big Fizz hits other than rares that roll the extra Fizz damage modifier aura, which is pretty common, but most rares you just freeze before they can deal damage to you, so it's not that big of a deal. But with the Beyond monsters, there's so many of them, they're so small, they can just rush you and deal a ton of damage to you, so that is why you want to figure out your Fizz damage reduction there. And you can also, of course, use a Granite or even a the other one, Basalt Flask with increased armor as well to get even more mitigation for Fizz damage. And then once you do that, you can swap to something that's a bit more advanced. I was doing, as I said, Einhar was making a ton of money for me, Bestiary with the Scarabs as well. You want to run Scarabs nowadays, but it's super easy to buy Scarabs now, like from Faustus. It's never been easier to buy Scarabs, like you just put in whatever you want. Let's say we want the Bestiary Scarabs, right? So we want the duplicating one. Let's say we want like 10 of those. So we're gonna buy 10 of those. Bam, done. Even for a better price than was showing. And let's say we want like 20 of these, because these stack up to 2, so we want 20 of these. That's 60 chaos. Bam, there you go. We can suddenly go run 10 more maps, because these used twice. We can go run 10 more maps, right? No problem. And you make way more than that from Bestiary. It's super profitable. Even as prices go down, because more people are doing it, it's still profitable. But obviously, the earlier you get to something, the more money you'll make. So yeah, that's what you can swap to. And then once you get to the gear level I'm at, where you have damage to spare, and mind you, there are still upgrades possible for me as well, then you can swap to something like this, where you farm. You don't have to do Alva. It's actually not the best money to do Alva. The best money probably would be Harvest. So you do the Titanic Scarabs or a Harvest strategy, or whatever you want, really. You don't have to do what I tell you to do, but you can. I'm just saying that you can do the increased effect of map modifiers. You know, I have all of the different map wheels that give that, including this one. And then I just back into Scarabs to get some Scarabs back. That's also a good money income because you can sell them here at the fastest and it's super easy. And all of that just adds up to a very, very comfortable league. It's never been easier to make money. It's never been easier to play Frostblades. You can league started with like 1 million DPS and push it to what I have now is roughly 30 million. So you can, we always talk about scaling in PoE. This is a build that can scale, right? Like some of your biggest upgrades are gonna be Awakened Added Cold, a double corrupted White Wind, double corrupted Chest. The Yoke of Suffering is a huge, huge upgrade. It's worth all of the money that it costs and more. Heat Shiver is obviously mandatory. Mark of the Elder and an Opal Ring, you can use Taming to begin with, but this is going to be a better setup in the end, so you want to craft this yourself. You want to make a Shaper Elder Opal Ring so that you get immunity to stun attacks, or attacks that stun you, or stuns from attacks, there we go, and some attack damage. And obviously this adds a ton of damage on its own as well. And some flat from this, and crit multi. And obviously you would prefer not to have +1 maximum energy shield, you would prefer to have life, or minus mana cost, or you know, whatever else, just not the +1 maximum energy shield. But hey, you know, I got that, so I'm rocking that. And yeah, otherwise the only other choice that was, or other item that was changed from the time I played it as Trickster is the boots. I'm not using Legacy of Fury anymore. I'm using rare boots with chance to avoid elements, plus Ancestral Vision, plus you know, the avoid elements wheel. I am at 109 chance to avoid. That's just because Blood Rage takes you down 5 because of Revenge of the Hunted. And that means I'm element immune, so that's better than Trickster was in that aspect, but I do still get slowed by some effects that wouldn't slow down Trickster, which is annoying. I definitely think that there is still an argument to make that Trickster is better, but, you know, that's up to personal preference. Otherwise, another thing that's up to personal preference is just the skill tree. You don't have to use the same Ascendancy nodes that I use. You can use Avatar of the Wild, you can use Oath of Spring, if you don't like tinctures. I love tinctures. I think they're super OP. They're fun to use, so I use them, but you don't have to. Avatar of the Wilds, I will say though, because the build is squishy, even though I try to push back against this, I tell you, hey, you know, this build can do all stuff, all content, everything. Yes, it can, but it is still squishy, so it will still die. And when you come back in, your Avatar of the Wilds is reset, right? So you have to build it up again, and that's annoying. So not that I don't like it, I actually leveled with it and it was fine for like act bosses, but once you get into uber bosses or even just like getting your void stones, it's much better to have the tinctures, because the tinctures are gonna be there when you need them, and this is not. Yeah, and everything else is pretty self-explanatory. There isn't anything else new. Oh, there's one more new thing, that's the Light of Meaning. This is a jewel that got technically added last league under a different name. It's just the more power creep, so you know, just get it once you have the money. Yeah, I mean that's the build. Oh, sorry, one last thing. This is from Pelsteron's video. I was just watching Pelsteron's Lightning Strike Warden, and he is running chance to poison and chance to bleed, although he's using tattoos, but I don't have the attributes to spare. So I just picked up these notes to buff up Yoke of Suffering even further. To be honest, I don't think it's worth it for me. I will probably respec those 2 notes into something else, probably more life. But for now, they're there. So, you know, be that as it may, they're there. So credit to Polsteron for that tech. I didn't realize that Yoke of Suffering scales with the non-elemental ailments as well. So that's a good call out. And yeah, Rage on Hit got reworked before. I think I had Rage on the Trickster. I don't remember where I was getting it from. Probably gloves. But doesn't make sense. I don't know. I don't remember, to be honest. It's been a long time. But now we just annoyed Veteran's Rant. This is 2 golden oils, but you know, compared to everything else, compared to the double corruptions, everything else, the 2 golden oils are nothing. and I actually anointed a bunch of amulets with it. I was also trying out this is what I saw in Zish's video. What's it called? Fury Wolf. Fury. Where do I have it? Oh, here. Right, so I even anointed this one with it just to try it out. And my old amulet as well. I don't remember what that is. Whatever. So that's to get rage. I don't have Berserker up in the POB because, as you saw, I don't know if I actually use it in either of the maps, but I don't use it, and when I do use it, I don't sustain it for very long. Just 2 rage on hit is not enough. There is an argument you could make that instead of getting double damage, which is not as necessary on Warden because you have better freeze duration, you might want to instead get rage on hit from Lethal Pride, which is a new thing that they added this league, so that might be better, so you have better uptime on Berserker, but it's not necessary. Another thing is that if you really want to just boss and nothing else, then there's 2 options. There's Admiral's Arrogance, and then there's, as always, Southbound, right? So Southbound is an option that's always been there. It gives you a bunch of flat damage. And freeze duration. The freeze duration is not as important on Warden, but it still helps, you know, it's not nothing. And Admiral's Arrogance gives you better sustain on Berserker and +2 level of melee skill gems. So these are about equal in damage. I think Southbound will feel a bit better because of the freeze duration, but they are about equal in damage. And if you get 1 corrupted with plus maximum frenzy charges, then that would be a very nice swap for bosses. I don't really swap, I just keep these gloves on, but that's because Warden has the freeze duration it needs. On the Trickster, I was swapping to Southbound, and the Trickster had about the same damage I have now, actually. So that just tells you how much freeze duration does. You know, for Uber bosses, I had to use Southbound. Now, as Warden, I don't have to. Okay, I'm making the video longer than it needs to be, but I wanted to go over a few of those things, so hopefully that tells you, you know, how to progress the build. If you have any questions, as I said, this is not a beginner's guide, but I will try to help you if you are trying to make the build and you're struggling at any point. I have, you know, gone through it, I have leak started it, so I can definitely answer questions. And if you have some opinions about the build or options on how to scale it even further, like if you can see something that I can see and you see some scaling option that I haven't taken care of yet, then let me know. I would love to push the DPS even higher. It's been a lot of fun to see the numbers go up in POB. I always enjoy that, so let me know, and I'll see you around. Bye bye. Hope you're enjoying 3.25. Amazing league so far. Bye bye.